Welcome to a conversation with Senator Michael Moore. My name is Kevin Byrne, and Senator Moore is our state senator representing the 2nd Worcester District, composed of 7 areas, six. Why do we do it all the time?
I was going to write it on the back of the paper.
I know, you should. I should. We should have a teleprompter here. Shrewsbury and 6 others.
Auburn, Millbury, Grafton, Shrewsbury, Westboro, and Worcester.
You all got that? Write it down, because I can't remember it, okay? More importantly, I don't really care about the others. No, I do care about them, but it's Shrewsbury. We're right here. Other than Worcester, we're probably the largest community that you represent, because you represent all of Shrewsbury, right?
Yeah, yep.
Shrewsbury, Westboro, Auburn. We're bigger than all those people.
Yes.
We're 38,000, I think, now, and counting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we are, and here we are. And we have to share with you, this is a program that Michael and I started sitting at this table, taping on October 15th. Today is October 25th. What happened is we got almost through the program, and then there were, as they say on television, technical difficulties. And bingo, everything stopped, and we said, oh, we almost made it, but we didn't. So we decided, because we're going to talk about the election, which is important, we rescheduled it as soon as we possibly could for Michael and I. It's Friday afternoon, and we want to do it, and we're doing it from scratch, because now I can tell you, today I am having, when we finish this program, we're taping this early, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, on the 25th. I am having dinner with my 3 children, all 3 of them, one from New York, one from Los Angeles, the other one from Shrewsbury, and my wife and I at Via to celebrate on Monday, October 28th. It is my birthday.
Okay. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Okay. I keep saying today's the birthday, because it isn't. It's Monday. But Virginia says we're going to celebrate it with everybody here from all sorts of different places on Friday, because on Monday a lot of the restaurants aren't open. She's a smart lady. Okay.
And you can take credit for your birthday being today.
There we are. There we are.
If you celebrate today, it is today.
You got it. Okay. So here we are, Michael.
Here we are again.
All right, here we are again. Okay. There's lots of stuff we need to talk about. We want to do this program because there is an election coming up on November 5th.
Yep.
Okay? November 5th. An election from the President of the United States down and including everybody in local federal government and actually in local town governments too, aren't they?
No, not town government.
No.
So you're gonna. So you'll have.
We just get through to you guys. Okay.
Right,
For example, Michael Moore is on the ballot. I voted mail-in ballot. My wife and I, Virginia, mailed in our ballots about 2 weeks ago, and as we're filling in the little dots, there was my dear friend Michael, all by himself right there, with nobody running against him. And I said, there we go again, Michael. Michael,
thank you.
This is now going to be your eighth term?
Yeah.
8th term.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We've been hanging around doing this program for even longer than that.
I'm actually surprised CNN hasn't picked it up yet. I can't say MSNBC, but CNN.
I know. Well, we want to keep it local.
Yes.
We don't want all those other people coming. Oh, we can't say that word, other people anymore. Anyway. Okay. And anyway, picking up, going back where we were. Back on October 15th, we started but discussing an unfortunate tragedy
Yes.
That happened to a young man whose name is, I'm going to mispronounce it, Enrico Delgado Garcia, a young man from Worcester who was training to be a state police officer, was involved in whatever their physical issues were
Yep.
to become a state police officer, and died.
Yeah.
And died allegedly involved around a prize fight. I mean, a fight.
Yeah, boxing.
Okay, a
Boxing, yeah.
boxing match in the training concept, I assume, of what the state police required.
Yeah.
And how long it required.
So
Okay?
it's
so-
interesting that the state police, I think it was in the 90s, 1990, disbanded or stopped the boxing, and then they brought it back.
Yeah. Right.
And if you look at every other police academy, that the 22,000 of the police officers go through in Massachusetts,
Right.
I may be wrong on this, but I don't think any of them have boxing. I think the state police is the only last.
As part of the training.
As part of the training, but they have self-defense,
Right.
and I guess you have, upon evaluation now, we determine whether is an officer going to need boxing training, or is a self-defense, being able to disarm someone.
Sure.
De-escalation techniques. I mean, so
Right.
we'll see, based upon the review.
Okay, so what happened is, all of a sudden this happens, and nobody's doing anything about
Right.
it. Okay, this, publicity coverage that he has passed away, and the family is quite obviously upset. And it was you, Robin Kennedy, our state senator, and
Peter Durant.
Peter Durant, who also represents Worcester, parts of Worcester, who got together, and you started it. You sent a letter to
Yep.
the Attorney General, Campbell,
Yep.
and said, you got to have an independent investigation of this, okay? At the same time, or as a result of your, I don't want to say demands, but serious request, the district attorney, Joe Early, also said, yes, it has to be an independent, because this young man worked for the district attorney's office
Everyone loved
prior.
this
And
this
apparently
young
he was
kid.
just a delightful young man that everybody liked, and he wanted to be a state police so much. So, in any event, what has happened subsequent is, as a result of that, was it the Attorney General who appointed
Yes.
a investigator?
Yeah, they've hired an independent counsel
Right.
to come in, conduct the investigation, and the investigation is to look into obviously the death, circumstances surrounding the death.
Sure.
But also, the letter we requested also deals with harassment or hazing.
Hazing, yeah.
Type of culture at the academy, which apparently this recruit had made some complaints or statements to family or friends
Right.
about the hazing that went on there. And there was another gentleman that came out publicly in the media that he had 6 weeks left in the academy, and left the academy, and same type of thing. So I guess
So
trying-
that's still in process.
that's still in process. And if you look at, we know the state police have had some issues over the last several years.
Oh, have they?
So to maintain any sort of integrity in the process, whether it's for the family, who we should be looking to try to make sure they have faith that an investigation's being done,
Right.
proper investigations being done. Also for the reputation of the state police,
Yeah.
having someone come in, an independent investigator come in, look at it, and we all hope, I would imagine, we all hope, I mean, I know I do, that they're going to come in, they're going to look at the training, they'll look at everything and say, there was nothing inappropriate done. It's a tragedy that occurred. But if we want everyone to walk away not thinking that there was a cover-up, not thinking there was anything that...
Because, let me interrupt you just for a minute, if there would be an investigation, you folks were looking for an independent,
Right.
neutral to come in, as was Joe Early. It would have been the state police itself
Yes.
who would have done the investigation, which,
But that's, and that was the concern. They're going to investigate their own academy,
right.
and then if they come out with findings,
Right.
some people could look. We have a culture today where everyone thinks it's a conspiracy.
absolutely.
So let's get someone come in. Let's have them do
it.
an investigation at the impartial party, and
Hopefully,
hopefully,
that will be resolved at
Yes,
some point.
I
Okay,
agree.
election,
yes,
November 5th. Okay,
5 ballot questions.
5 ballot questions.
Oh, but before that, you've got some important dates.
Well, there were times, okay, which Alex fortunately wrote out for me. The first one, early voting. Early voting in Shrewsbury, and I think all of the communities, at least in your district, and I'm sure around the way, can vote. It started on October 19th. It ends on November 1st, in which you literally can go into the town hall and early vote. Those are the dates. So if you want to go in early, you got
Now-
till November 1st.
You need to check with the town to find out what hours of operation they
Yeah,
have.
of course you do.
Every town's going to have different hours of operation.
Right. And that's easily determined.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Vote by mail. The application deadline for that is October 29th. Just very, very close.
Did you do the registration part?
I did not. Oh, you have to to register to vote. Okay. It's October 26th. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
I kind of skipped over it because I said, you ain't
Which
gonna
this
do-
would have been addressed 2 weeks ago. if
2
we-
weeks
yeah.
ago, right. You can't register to vote. If you're not registered to vote, you can't after Tuesday. So you got Monday and Tuesday, okay? And your mail-in ballots have to be in to the clerk of your community by November 5th, okay? Yeah, that's the mail-in ballots. And the election is on November 5th. Polls open at 7 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. And it's amazing from what I'm reading about the numbers of mail-in ballots that are coming in Massachusetts, but also throughout the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw one number that said up until this point in Georgia, there were 2 million mail-in ballots that had been mailed in, really, So those are the dates.
Well, then with the overseas dates.
Pardon?
You may want to get into the overseas date.
Oh, yeah, what are they?
So November 15th is the final day for overseas ballots to arrive.
Right.
So then we get the ballot questions, your favorite topic.
We got 5 ballot questions. They've gotten enormous television coverage, newspaper
So just a quick,
coverage all over the place. There, go.
because this is a public access show,
Yeah.
I will discuss the ballot questions, but there's concern that we don't want to violate any of the election laws. So Kevin can express his opinion as to how he would like you to vote. I do not have that liberty, so I don't want people thinking that I'm just not weighing in. But we just don't want to put the
He's not being
station.
wishy-washy, he's being legal.
Yes,
okay?
thank you.
So that somebody doesn't question and say he's using a public channel to promote a cause. Okay.
Correct.
The first one is a fascinating one, promoted and got on the ballot by our present state auditor, whose name is Diane DiZiglio, and she got it on by petition, and it's to give her, in her capacity as the state auditor, to audit the Massachusetts legislature. Lots of pros and cons about that.
Yep.
A lot of them from the legislature who are basically saying, you can't. This is a separation of powers. We're the legislative branch. You, Diana, are the executive branch. That's not your job. You can audit all of the agencies, which is they've been doing for centuries. Okay, the former auditor, who finally retired after a period of time, has said no, you can't. We can't do that. Okay, but there is commotion and legitimate commotion about the lack of transparency of the state legislature.
Yes.
Okay, and it's serious.
So,
The newspaper coverage is mind-boggling.
Yep.
People are talking about it. I'm not in favor of this because, one, I'm a lawyer, and two, there is a separation of powers.
so to just,
But I think this is going to pass. You can't even comment on it.
well, I can
Because
discuss
of-
it. I can't. I
because
can
of the
discuss.
problems with the legislature, so you can comment about the legislature.
So the overall, the judiciary also is a separation of powers issue. So the judiciary does have an agreement with the auditor's office to do this.
Right.
The Senate president and the speaker both have come out and they've talked about how they do have an audit done.
Right.
You've talked about how every state agency has an audit.
Right.
So this would
Done
basically
by the state auditor's
state auditor's
office.
office. These right now, the legislature has their own
Their own.
independent, but it's not to the degree this is.
Right.
So, and as you say, as far as the transparency issue, there's the argument that we need to be more transparent. So those are the issues. Some have debated. Some have debated the, as you just said, the constitutionality of this. One argument against that is that the Attorney General reviews ballot questions before they go on to make sure they are constitutional. So she did approve this ballot question. The other argument is that the Senate legal counsel had argued that this should have been a constitutional amendment, which would require passage at two state constitutional conventions and then going to the ballot.
Okay.
So those are the different arguments that are being heard.
Okay, so that's it on that.
Yep.
Vote. Think about it. The second one is eliminating MCAS, the comprehensive exam that public students are required to take in order to graduate.
Yes.
This is promoted primarily by the Mass Teachers Association, who for years has opposed there being a statewide test that you have to pass in order to graduate. Okay.
So, again, going to the argument of that, positions, they are not opposing a test as a standard.
Right.
They are saying, look, you can keep the MCAS,
Yeah.
use it as an assessment tool,
Right.
but they don't think it should be a graduation requirement.
Right.
So, so there are beliefs that there are some that think the MCAS is just too high stakes.
Right.
And there are others that think that if you look at where Massachusetts tests on the students test on these tests, we are number 1 and 2 in the country in many areas.
Right.
So there's others. So you have the argument that we have such a high standard, students are doing well, and we have another argument where teachers teach to the test, and that also certain affected communities may not get the resources they need, or the test could be discriminatory and makes it harder for them to pass.
Right.
So the question is,
And a lot of it is those places that get low MCAS, the local people look around and say, is this caused by the way these kids are being taught?
Correct.
Okay? And okay. My wife and I disagree on this, okay? I think a standard test for everybody is a wonderful idea. It's a standard, okay? Doesn't mean you're the end of the world, but in order to get out through high school with a diploma in your hand, it's reading, writing, and arithmetic is what's on the exam. I don't know the details of what's all the stuff that's on the exam, and people say, "Oh, that's discriminatory." Black Latino people are being discriminated about because of the way it's worded, the questions that are being asked, and all that sort of good stuff. Anyway, and my wife, my view is, yeah, there to be a test just to say you're getting out of there. The diploma has to mean something on a statewide basis. And my wife says, no, too many teachers are teaching to the exam.
So-
and she doesn't think it's a good
To
idea.
weigh in, like you were talking about, I think back to the early 90s when we had ed reform pass.
Right.
And we had the foundation budget formula passed,
Exactly.
established, and the testing requirement.
Okay.
We had issues with students before this that were graduating without diploma. I'm assuming that couldn't read and write.
Right.
So now we have a standard. You could argue back then that if we had held the students to the standards at that point of, you had to maintain a certain grade point average, this may never come up. So that's
Okay, we got to pass on.
Okay.
Time-wise. Okay, 3. Uber and Lyft drivers want to have the ability to unionize. Sounds good to me.
doesn't say it's mandatory. It
No,
just says
it's
they
not
have the ability.
mandatory, right? And there's a dispute on that between some of them don't want to unionize because they don't want to, get involved with
So these
being-
so now that was the
being
industry.
union. Are they independent contractors or are they employees is the issue. They want to be independent contractors. It never has made sense to me. But there we are. Okay, 4.
Magic mushrooms,
Magic mushrooms.
psychedelics.
Psychedelic things. Again, a group who are saying this has medical advantages to a lot of people who have
PTSD.
mental health issues, and they should be allowed to be produced. And by the way, homegrown, okay, which is also interesting, and be in some ways certified to do it. Okay, I don't know whether it's generational or whether it's otherwise. I like mushrooms on a steak, in a salad. I like all of it. I've never thought of it in terms of it having a psychedelic effect on my mind, which has enough psychedelic effects in and of itself, okay? I think it's not a good idea, but
So some states have already done this.
yes.
Again, and there is research going on as far as what they call microdoses or medical oversight on this. So
Yeah.
you can equate this to the cannabis, I guess. Marijuana at one point is illegal, then we goes from illegal to non-criminal to went to medical, then.
Right.
But so I guess this is up to the voter and how they feel.
How you feel about magic mushrooms?
Yep.
I wonder if you could buy just magic mushrooms in a restaurant. Probably not. Okay. The 5th question is fascinating. Waiters and waitresses tips. Should they be tipped? Should they not be tipped? What should the minimum wage be, really, is what the
Right.
issue is for people who are tipped employees. Waiters, waitresses, bartenders. I always, rather than, I should think of bartenders first because I tip bartenders more frequently than I take waiters and waitresses because they happen to be before me more frequently than others. I found this very confusing. And a lot, I've read a lot about, and I've talked a lot about waiters and waitresses who don't want this, who
Yeah.
said leave it alone, because if we get involved in minimum wage and ultimately being able to tip pool, to put their tips in a big pool and all of that sort of stuff, it means people aren't going to start tipping anymore because they think we're getting paid so well. Why should we add on to that?
Well, so it is confusing too because I've seen some of the commercials on this, and I don't think the minimum wage in the commercials for the advocates of this is they're being fully open about how the system works.
Yeah.
Right now, if you're a tipped employee, at the end of the week, at the end of the pay period, the owner is supposed to look at what you're bringing in for an hourly rate, the tips you received, and they're supposed to factor in the hours you worked, and it's supposed to come out to the minimum wage.
Right.
If it doesn't, they're supposed to make up the difference.
Absolutely.
So you could argue we already have it in effect, just in a different method.
Right.
Okay. The other aspect, and actually someone approached me the other night on this, is that consumers only have so much money.
Right.
If the passage of this is going to affect the cost of the food and the cost of the materials you're buying, and then if you're going to then tip again to 20%,
Right.
now you're tipping on a higher amount.
Right.
So the consumer is paying that, but you are guaranteeing, in favor of this, you are guaranteeing that person is going to get a fair hourly rate.
Right.
So I guess it's I don't know. I do think it's a very tough question because you may have
Go ahead.
you just may have people that think everyone should get the same $15 hourly rate.
Right.
And
Which, by the way, that's the minimum wage now, right?
yes, $15.
$15.
But this also would, over time, also increase it above the $15.
Okay. All right. Well, we kind of ran through those, fascinating, brief
Quick and efficient manner.
period of time. And I'm looking at all the equipment, all the lights are on. So apparently we made the program. Please, 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 please vote. Vote, okay? You can still do it by mail. You can now walk up to Shrewsbury Town Hall. You can do it there. You can do it likewise in all of the designated areas in every community in the second district. Yep. Okay, obviously including Worcester. But vote. This election is so important. Okay, I could wax as a very lifelong Democrat. I could wax rather. Wax for a very long period of time on my thoughts about this, but vote, one way or the other. Those of you who know that I live at 22 Elmer Circle, if you drive by the house, the signs outside will give you a clear indication of how Kevin and Virginia Byrne, and by the way, the house next door where Melissa Burns, which also has some signs on the front of it, and vote. Thank you for listening.